The Caribbean is currently witnessing the highest level of U.S. military activity in years. The most powerful aircraft carrier in the world is positioned near Venezuela, and American surveillance aircraft are monitoring the borders by air and sea. Then came the decision that changed the entire equation. The United States officially designated the major cartels in the region as terrorist organizations. With that designation, Washington is now legally allowed to use force inside Venezuela without declaring war and without seeking Congress approval. From this moment, the crisis narrowed to 4 realistic scenarios. From escalation to a political deal to a soft transition, all the way to the most dangerous possibility. Scenario 1: Escalation. Harsher sanctions and limited strikes after labeling the cartels as terrorist organizations. The border crisis became a direct national security issue for Washington. Under this scenario, the U.S. increases sanctions to their maximum level and begins conducting limited precision strikes on cartel-linked targets inside Venezuela, using drones or special units without any intention of occupation or a full-scale war. This approach pressures Maduro's government from outside while weakening trafficking networks inside. It's the most likely short-term scenario because it delivers fast results without triggering instability. Scenario 2: A negotiated deal between Maduro and Trump in the middle of rising tensions. President Nicolas Maduro signaled his openness to dialogue. And for the first time in years, Washington didn't shut the door. Trump responded with a simple phrase: "Why not? Dialogue can stabilize the region and stop drug flows, then negotiation may be the smarter path." Here begins the outline of a major deal. Venezuela wants sanctions relief, access to frozen state assets abroad, and a full revival of its oil industry, things impossible without U.S. companies and Western technology. Their return means restored production, restored revenue, and restored economic life. In exchange, Washington wants genuine security cooperation against the cartels. Not symbolic cooperation, but real daily coordination, information sharing, border monitoring, and a small U.S. technical presence working alongside Venezuelan forces. And under this framework, both sides could agree to establish a limited U.S. Joint Counter-Narcotics Operations Center inside Venezuela. Not a traditional military base, but a small operational site that monitors trafficking routes through the Caribbean and supports joint missions. A limited non-combat presence that gives Washington oversight without a war and gives Venezuela stable security support. A key condition for the U.S. would be reducing Russian, Chinese, and Iranian influence inside Venezuela. Washington will not allow a second Cuba near its borders or a hostile foreign foothold in the Caribbean. A shift in Venezuela's international alignment becomes part of the deal. Politically, the agreement would not aim to topple the government. Instead, it organizes the next phase: monitored elections or a peaceful transition if Maduro steps aside, with clear guarantees that prevent instability. Scenario 3: A soft transition with guarantees for Maduro. A third scenario is a soft, negotiated transition inside Venezuela. Not a coup, not a forced removal, but a controlled political shift that prevents the state from collapsing. This idea gained attention after a controversial remark by Colombia's foreign minister, who suggested Maduro might accept a political exit if he received guarantees. Colombia later clarified that the statement was not official and that it does not interfere in Venezuela's internal affairs. Still, the fact that the idea was discussed shows that regional actors are considering a peaceful transition. The concept is straightforward. Maduro remains for a short transition period, followed by internationally monitored elections, in exchange for full guarantees of no prosecution and a safe exit if he decides to step down. The goal is not regime collapse, it's preventing state collapse. Venezuela is full of armed groups, trafficking networks, and fragile institutions. A sudden fall of the government could unleash chaos across Colombia, Brazil, and the Caribbean. A soft transition becomes the practical middle ground, avoiding war, avoiding chaos, and allowing all sides to adjust. Scenario for war: the least likely but the most dangerous despite the military movements. Full-scale war remains the least likely scenario because its cost would be enormous for everyone. Washington understands the complexity of operating inside a country filled with cartels, armed groups, and unstable institutions. And the collapse of the Venezuelan state could release uncontrolled chaos across the region. The danger is that war requires only one mistake: a misfired strike on a government building, a border clash with Colombia, a military move near Guyana's Essequibo region, or hitting a site with foreign personnel. Any of these could ignite a conflict no one intended. And if it escalates, it won't be a clean confrontation between states. The real danger is Venezuela's internal collapse, arming civilians, empowering cartels, and triggering mass instability. That's why war is the least likely scenario, but the most dangerous. Between escalation, negotiation, a soft transition, and the risk of war, Venezuela now stands at a crossroads. Each scenario carries its own cost, and a single development on the ground could change the outcome instantly. Which scenario do you think is most realistic? And don't forget to like and subscribe for more global analysis from Trend Fact Report.